In 1898, upon successfully operating an electric motorized boat for the first time, the great inventor Nikola Tesla remarked towards an interviewer that you may live to see man-made horrors beyond your comprehension, after pondering its effects on the evolution of naval combat when paired with radio technology and advancements being made in the realm of explosives. Today, fear surrounding the advancement of warfare through artificial intelligence or age-old fears of nuclear warfare still ring true in the minds of many people. As a logical continuation of those fears, I regret to inform you that it is indeed the 41st millennium. In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. If you'd like to see future videos a week early, along with other unique content, go to the subscribe star link in the description box, select any tier to contribute, and sign up as a member of the Grimdark Army. My thanks to the current men and women in service, whose names are seen here. Grimdark. Half off! Let's get the elephant in the dunce cap out of the room first. I am well aware that several parts of the Warhammer universes are over-the-top, stupid fun, and exaggerated. I'm also acknowledging very well that I'm a weird person, in that I really only let myself engage with media that I would consider aspirational. I care about my mental diet, and if a character isn't overcoming something, that's not just a sign of bad writing to me, but a warning sign of mental type 2 diabetes. I think engaging with stories that have an extreme uphill conflict in them of some type, whether it's psychological, physical, or otherwise, gives a person a kind of free therapy that helps them deal with the challenges of their daily life in a better way. My love for the human characters in 40K stems from this. From the Imperial Guardsmen telling the story of different types of classic soldier archetypes throughout history, to the warrior-monk demigods known as Space Marines, fighting the same battles on a larger scale. It's often said that Warhammer 40K is a fantasy universe with a sci-fi coat of paint on it, and this is very true, both from its magic system as well as its main themes. Fantasy often provides us with a metaphorical platform for confronting the darker aspects of ourselves, society, and certain hurdles we all must overcome to mature as people. Nowhere is that better represented than in one of humanity's main antagonists of the setting, and there are many, the Chaos Gods. Alongside sentient life is a natural psychic energy we can call the warp. The warp is in of itself not bad or good, but a reflection of the events, emotions, and general essence of physical life. While the space high elves, known as Eldar, still possess access to a more pure form of this dimension, the majority of it have been tainted by various negative manifestations of emotion since the dawn of time, which we can call chaos. Chaos-born entities can manifest in the material world, also called the Materium, through sorcery or dark magic, often practiced by different cults who primarily come into contact with these forces through the Chaos Gods, who could be considered subcategories of the raw neuroticism that chaos represents. Khorne is the first of the Chaos Gods, and is given power from all acts of slaughter. Called the Blood God, he gains power from every act of slaughter, whether it be towards an animal for food, a serial killer's victim, or a warrior in battle. Khorne is most likely anger and psychopathy. Tzeentch gains power from all types of scheming for change, which, while they can include backstabbing, can also simply be planning ahead in life for a long-term goal. He is also the god of sorcery. Tzeentch is Machiavellianism and paranoia. Nurgle gains power from all disease and pestilence. Known as the Lord of Decay, he enthralls his followers with a concept of self-love that negates all aspects of self-improvement. Nurgle is entropy, delusion, nihilism, and the myth of stasis. Opposite to Tzeentch, he is every voice in your head telling you to give up on your goals. Finally, last of the Chaos Gods is Slaanesh, who is the Chaos God of excess, most associated with sex for pleasure, but also anything that upsets the balance of a person's life through overconsumption. In all its forms, Slaanesh is the hedonism that many of us struggle with every day. Just like in the real world, it's very rare that someone commits to just one of these bad emotions, or Chaos Gods in this context, and often they commit to all of them at once without realizing it. The only way to fight chaos, very fittingly, is with order, faith, and action. The Imperium of Man, for all its many, many flaws, believes wholeheartedly in their God Emperor, whose power has been proven to repel the demons connected to these entities. They live balanced lives of discipline that reflect organized minds engaged in physical fitness, and finally, take brutal action against all the chaos manifestations. Chaos is man versus himself in its purest form, being a beautiful representation of our inner evils in life and how to combat them. If you want to combat chaos, you'll probably need today's sponsor, Ronin Kraft, the easiest way to build your own Space Marine chapter with better quality and cheaper than most competitors. Ronin Kraft's independent 3D printing service is known for its excellent customer service on Etsy, so you can be sure you'll be satisfied with your product. With Ronin Kraft, you'll get quality that surpasses any master. Where chaos often represents our conflicts with other men and ourselves, orcs, tyranids, and others feel like a one-for-one of the evolutionary predators we've had to contend with in our species' history. Both in different ways have elements of disease, which move into an all-out predatory invasion. For orcs, this takes the form of them bleeding spores, which, when put in dark and moist areas, grow into new orcs. They are a unisex, all-male species that has a culture based solely on the most strawman version of might makes right. They are often played for stupid fun because they are, and if I ever picked up the tabletop, their rules seem to be the most appealing to me. They're like random dice rolls, and it's always kind of a coin flip as to whether or not you get to attack again. Very fun. Like the orcs many would consider them a parody of, they are an excellent metaphor for what we become when totally bereft of any civilized order. An orc is actually kept by the chaos god Khorne for his entertainment. They are agents of destruction who literally only aspire to be at war, pronounced war, and are only capable of making anything because of a literal reality-warping faith-based power called Wa energy, which is the only reason they aren't controlled by the Chaos Gods in the first place. And also, just briefly on Wa energy, it means if they believe it hard enough and there are enough of them around, it's real, and I love that so much. They literally are just violent, stupid kids on the playground, and I love that so much. The Tyranids begin as an infiltration group, referred to as gene stealers. A patriarch alters the genetic structure of a host. This changes their genetic code and puts them in touch with a small hive mind. In many ways, they are the dangers many of us must avoid of being taken advantage of by cults. And there's actually a deeper metaphor there, because as the Gene Stealer cult expands, one of the final forms is a beacon that actually just lures the giant Tyranid invading force to the planet, and Tyranids are heavily inspired by xenomorphs from Alien, so it's basically an army of xenomorphs, except worse. It's xenomorphs on steroids that can also adapt to whatever army they're fighting. In many ways, it's like saying, this is the hellish nightmare that can befall your life if you let other people live your life for you. Once the Tyranids themselves come, they're more man versus beast, as all of them can be thought of as ever-evolving organic flesh murder bugs that adapt to the current army they're fighting. Both orcs and Tyranids are very fun factions, but from the perspective of humanity, they are every disease or serpent we've had to fight off. The reason these are better is that they either never stop growing in numbers unless incinerated, like the orcs, or they never stop adapting, like the Tyranids. It just makes them really great monsters, just really great ever-present threats. The Tyranids are also theorized to be outside of the Milky Way galaxy, so we have terraforming technology in 40K, and one of the things is like the Milky Way is just the setting. Outside of it, we don't know what exists, and those shadows are theorized to be almost all Tyranids, maybe, or maybe not. Maybe there are no Tyranids, but maybe all Tyranids. Oops, all Tyranids? We don't know. They are every conflict man has ever had with an outside force, amped up to 11, then personified. And actually, that just kind of ties into fear of the unknown outside the Milky Way. Lastly, of course, I have to mention the corruption of the Imperium of Man itself. Constant rebellions don't spring from nothing. In all cases of rebellion, long before the existence of a chaos cult or gene stealer cult, there is the imperial cult, which is both the religion and governing moral philosophy of the Imperium of Man. Latent with bureaucracy, which makes it inefficient, dogma enforced at the barrel of a gun that makes it the enemy of free discussion or intellectual debate, and an extreme wealth disparity, with some living on worlds, meaning planets in this context, comprised solely of endless industrial labor as others live lives of endless luxury, all depending on the families they were born into. The inherent flaws of any empire in its later years are present in full force. creating the same rebellions we would see before the fall of Rome. In addition to this, there are truly grimdark sentences for lawbreakers many would consider worse than death. A minor criminal may face the fate of becoming a servitor, a lobotomized human cyborg made solely for menial labor on spaceships and other areas. It's been shown multiple times, due to the nature of how souls work in 40K and the fact that some parts of the brain are kept in the servitor due to the Imperium's ban on artificial intelligence, that they do retain the ability to think, but are simply unaware, for the dramatic majority of it, of their current fate. Before this video goes on too long, my point is that in its effort to be over-the-top, cynical, self-parodying, and grimdark for the sake of grimdark, Warhammer 40,000 is a much better reflection of the horrors man is capable of, their immense failings, their struggles, and the many who have been lost to history in horrible ways many today could not imagine. In that nightmare, there is the thing I value most about stories in the grimdark genre: the necessity to aspire with the very real possibility that you might not make it. This reflection of the real world's absurd cruelty is what makes 40K truly, amazingly beautiful. Thank you all for watching, and have a lovely day.